welcome horror fam. Today, if you see me grinning from ear to ear, it's because I'm totally stoked and excited to introduce a man who needs no introduction. It's the founder of Full Moon Features. It's director Charlie Band himself. Welcome.
Thank you. And I've been interviewing recently because of our release of Quadrant, and several people introduced me as the godfather of horror, which sounds ridiculous. So thank you for not doing that.
I had it written down here, but I watched another interview with you where you said Godfather makes me sound old or something.
Yeah,
So I
yeah,
said
it's
no.
true. It's true. Yeah, you got to keep the illusion going. So, yeah, well, thanks for making me part of this. And you asked the questions. I'm here.
Yes, absolutely. Well, so we're here today to talk about the 400th full moon feature. How does
Yes.
that make you feel?
Like the godfather of horror. Okay, sorry. No, no, I'm just being silly. Well, I didn't think of it because I mean, you never look back. I'm on a forward roll for all these years. But yeah, I was aware as we were kind of coming up to 396, 397, that, yeah, I'm kind of going to hit this 400. And then when I invented this whole Pulp Noir series, which I'm very excited about, and the first one, Quadrant, was being shot, I thought, oh man, that's kind of cool. That is the 400th movie because it's the beginning of kind of a new sub-label. So, and then of course, I'm talking to people, oh man, 400 movies. And then you kind of reflect a bit and you go, the fuck have I done? And then how did that happen? And, then you think back to all the different decades and how, everything's changed from technology to, but the audience hasn't changed. People like good entertainment. They like to be escapism. The audiences, the world's changed, but people like a good ride. And that's kind of what I've been doing. These are not art films. There's no message. I mean, my message is usually good guys kind of win, but otherwise it's just, fun, bizarre, weirdo movies with blood and guts and always a lot of boobies.
Amen. Amen. And I was so happy to see that we have lots of blood and boobies in Quadrant. Um, but you said sometimes you look back and you don't know what you've done. But one of the things you've done is create great memories for people like us, walking through the video store
Yeah.
and seeing Head of the Family or Puppet Master or something like that. And of course, you helped usher that in. But you brought up Pulp Noir, so tell us more about Pulp Noir.
Well, so I've been wanting to make, and the fans, I respond to fans who I meet and hear from, and I go to conventions as much as I can. We're in a world where, Terrifier is a big success. And I wish success on anyone in this business. It's not easy. I'm not a fan because after 20 minutes, I thought I just don't want to watch all this stuff anymore.
Right.
Not put the movie down, just not my cup of tea. But I know the audience is looking for more visceral, more, horrific, terrifying stuff. Now, my movies have always had a light touch. I've never made a slasher movie, although one could say, well, Quadrant's kind of a slasher movie. Well, it's got a fantasy element. It's not a guy with a knife chopping up women. It's not another Friday the 13th, but it would be a fair, assessment of the movie. Having said that, I do like a lot of the movies. I like all the movies I've made. Some turn out really good, some, not so great. And I love the puppet and doll movies and the reanimation and all that stuff. But I was thinking it's time to make movies closer to films I made 20, 30 years ago, like From Beyond and Reanimator and Castle Freak, that were dark and edgy and, Orwellian or Lovecraftian or whatever you want to call them. So I started to design a series of movies that are sort of classic tales, but with a bit of a contemporary spin, so that it doesn't get lost in some. I mean, I think a lot of the movies I've made, you can look at any time and not even know when they were made. They're not really tied to time and space. So you mentioned Head of the Family, which is one of my favorite. Head of the Family could have been made 2 years ago, not 24 years ago, because it's character driven. It's a clever idea. It doesn't use any gimmickry that you go, oh, that's kind of what was cool in the 70s or 80s. I don't know how to
Right.
describe it exactly, but I wanted to make a new series of movies that again were different in a way. So first with the Pulp Noir movies, and by the way, I shot a second one which is called Death Streamer, and that trailer is available. I'm really proud of that. Well, I'll talk about that for a
Oh,
moment as
great.
But yeah, so Quadrant is, I don't want to talk too much about it because it comes out in a few days and I'm really proud of it. And if I talk about it, then I'll kind of give away some stuff. But it is about a female serial killer who channels Jack the Ripper. Jack the Ripper is an interesting subject for a lot of reasons, a lot of controversy. Some people still think he may be a her, that maybe Jack the Ripper was a woman. It's also interesting that the first, I'm not sure it was the first victim, but let's just say the first victim of Jack the Ripper is also the first time where there's an actual photograph of the victim, a real photograph, which is a famous
Oh, wow.
that you can look at. And we actually incorporated that image into the beginning of Quadrant because it's very real and historical and all that stuff. So I thought it would be a good setup. And then I was lucky to get one of our best writers, Courtney Joyner, who wrote movies for me like Puppet Master 3 and The Lurking Fear and Trancers 3. And Courtney and I go back many years. So he wrote a really good script, I think. And then we were super lucky getting these wonderful actors. The girl, Shannon Barnes, who plays the serial killer, I think is absolutely, fantastic. Every one of them
She's
are
awesome. Yeah.
wonderful. And she has so much depth and so much, nuance. You just go, wow, I can't stop watching this girl, this character. So what I like about Quadrant is it does tap into the current world because part of the movie, very small part, is in the virtual world, and they put this helmet on, which helps them with all the hocus pocus, concocted by the scientists in the movie, to go, and the idea is they're supposed to confront their fears, and they go back into a virtual landscape, and they do just that. The problem is that in the case of our lead, she is going there. She's obsessed with Jack the Ripper, and she's going back into that world, and using it more like a thrill ride, where she's she's actually enjoying watching what the Ripper is doing, and she brings that into
Yeah.
the real world. And then I stop because otherwise I'll blow the story. Um, so I think it's a good use of the technology. If you create a virtual world, even though I think it's 4 or 5 minutes in a 75-minute movie,
Yeah.
um, it's going to be just that. So I think we used the AI technology well there. We used some CGI. When you go into a virtual world, it's not the real world. So, if I had all the money in the world, you could make the argument, well, why don't you just build London circa 1880? Why don't you just
Right.
build all this stuff? Which, with endless money, which studios give you if you have a $200 million
Right.
budget, but it wouldn't be the virtual world. The virtual world, it looks different. It's got to,
Yeah.
it is whatever you make it to be. And we created a world that I think is credible and cool and uses that technology correctly. So as an example, I've had a couple screenings and they've gone really well. People dig the movie, but someone who's sort of the anti-AI crowd, because AI is threatening, and a lot of
Yeah.
lot about that recently. He goes, well, you know, what could you have done differently? Could you have done this in stop motion animation? And then I said, look, I'm the biggest fan ever of stop motion and raw puppetry. It's all I've done.
Yeah.
I'm outspoken against CGI, but I think where the mistake is, if I invented a premise where, let's say in this room, there were three characters and one was an AI character, and I was trying to make that character credible in the real world, I think it would look kind of silly, and that would be a bad use of AI.
Yeah.
So to me, using the AI in the virtual world, I think makes a lot of sense. And I confined it to that world. You don't see it. And in the movie, most of the movie plays in the real world. It's very character driven film. So I'm really proud of the movie. We're going to, comes out on Friday, the 23rd. And another thing that I'm doing, which I'm happy about, is in the normal world today, the streaming world, the way movies get released is first it's on streaming, you have to subscribe, it's on, you can download to own, you can rent it on Amazon, whatever it is. Then a few months later, it goes to the free sites like Pluto and Tubi. And
Hmm.
you see it for free on Tubi, you got to sit through the commercials, and that's fine. And a few months after that, it goes out to physical. You get it on Blu-ray and DVD. That's kind of the pattern in our business. They're called windows. Those are the windows, so that all that stuff gets stretched out over 6 months. And I thought, why even do this? We have a moment in time where people will be hopefully talking about this thing. why not release it across all platforms all in the same day? So in fact, on Friday, the 23rd, you'll be able to see it, of course, on Full Moon Features. You can see it on Amazon. You can rent it. You can download to own. You can see it on Tubi for free if you're okay with the commercials. And you'll be able to buy it on the very same day on Blu-ray and DVD. And just for fun, we're releasing it on VHS.
Yes, I love that.
So why not? And on VHS, for those of you who maybe haven't seen the press, it's I forget what we're charging. It's whatever normal I mean, today talking about VHS is kind of funny, but there are people still buy it and collect it. So whatever the price is, I forget what it is for no extra charge. I'm going to personally sign every VHS copy. I just think it's a cool thing to do. And yeah, so basically we're going to release it all on the same day across all the platforms. And another thing we're doing with the Pulp Noir movies is about a month later, we'll re-release it in black and white. And the reason for that is, first, I'm a fan of film noir, and I'm shooting these movies with an eye towards the composition. So when you see it in black and white, I think it's a different experience. You'll go, wow, that's actually pretty cool. Now I understand why that has a shaft of light and that doesn't. And the whole vibe is film noir. I mean, I made another movie that I was going to release in black and white, and everyone at Paramount said, don't do it. But if you look at Trancers, which is a movie I'm pretty well known for, that's a film noir movie. I mean, the way, it's composed, the way Jack Depp, the character acts, you could look at that. And I mean, we didn't do it. We shot it in color, and it's never been released in black and white. But I thought it would be fun for people who follow Pulp Noir to see these movies released the way we're releasing them in color, and a month or so later in black and white.
Wow. Can I ask you a question about black and
Yeah.
white? Because I was watching Dr. Moreau's House of Pain, which is a movie you did like 20 years ago, I think. And I was reading about the black and white re-releases of these. So I wondered if that was a movie, because as I was watching it, I thought this is almost like a noir.
Yeah, I didn't, when I shot it, I wanted it to be a noir, but I didn't ever think, and this is back in it was a different era, so it would have been hard. Let me think. It was DVD, I think. I don't know if Blu-ray was happening. It was 20 odd years ago. But it would have been difficult in the way we release movies at the video store through Blockbuster and Hollywood to say, hey, by the way, the same movie is coming out on black and white. I think they would have said, no, don't do that, Charlie. But now you can do it. I mean, we can put it on the streaming site. We'll make it available. We'll see what happens. I think people enjoy it. Will we release it in physical media on black and white? I'm not sure. But it's very easy. I mean, I composed it this way. We finished it. I mean, right now, not that we're going to release it today. We have a black and white version, and I watched it about a week ago, and it's actually really, really cool.
Nice. Okay. Well, one of the things that I wanted to give you a chance to talk about is the Patreon.
Right.
So talk about
Yeah. So again, we're in a world where it's really hard to make these movies because of the fact that money's really dried up. The beauty of the direct-to-video world was that, if you were moderately successful and you made a pretty good movie and you got orders from the big retailers like Blockbuster and Hollywood, in the early days, you would ship your VHS tapes, later on your DVDs or Blu-rays. You would send an invoice, and 60 days later, you get paid,
Yeah.
And those dollars in those invoices were substantial enough that you could actually pay for the cost of the movie. And if you made something really cool and it caught on, you could actually make a profit. Today, that doesn't exist. We're in the world of digital dimes, or I don't know what the next euphemism is, but basically, very little money comes back in the way that you would imagine. Sometimes it's 3 or 4 cents a view. So, you don't have a chance of really recovering the cost of the movie. Now, it sort of begs the question, why am I still making movies? I mean, because, I think it helps the brand. It helps the fact that, people are subscribing to Full Moon Features, whether it's on Amazon or our app. And, I think new blood is important. And, I guess hope springs eternal. So, hopefully things may, take off in some interesting direction. And plus, I'm a movie junkie. I mean, how can I not make movies? I've made 401 of them. So you can't just, okay, I'll sit back and do something stupid. So, I think there's a reason to do it. Certainly not short-term financially. But I think it helps, and it heads us towards a time when, and things will change. They always change. When I started, it was all 35 millimeter. It was a different
Yeah.
world. I was the B side of a double bill, and I went to either a drive-in or a movie theater and watched my movie after the major movie
Yeah.
played. Then I watched Tourist Trap or Laser Blast or
Oh yeah.
Mansion of the Doom, and it was really cool. And you sat there with an audience, and boy, if things change. You don't sit with any audience. You're with your significant other, maybe a few friends. You've fallen asleep. It's like, it's the world is different. And I do miss watching my movies. Obviously, there's still movies being made that come out theatrically on a big screen with an audience. It was always fun to do that because you got a vibe of what people were thinking, especially when they were yelling back at the screen, which happened a lot. Um, so what I decided to do is, I wasn't even aware of what Patreon was, but I created this Patreon program uh, tied to Pulp Noir. And you can go there, maybe you can put up a link so people know what to do. But it dawned on me that a lot of the people watching these movies are artists. They're filmmakers, or they're
Yeah.
composers, or they're musicians, or they're in a band, or they're writers, or whatever it is. And I think the process of filmmaking is sort of fascinating. And this kind of gives people a way to be involved. So there's a number of tiers. You can see what it is when you go on the site. I think you got to go to Pulp Noir or Full Moon Features. You can find it. But what I did was, yes, you can, for very little money, $5 or $10, you're privy to all sorts of stuff. You get free things. I mean, the kind of usual things you would expect on a Patreon site. And it helps us, it helps bring in a little money that helps contribute to the budget of these movies. So it may only be 10% of the budget, but I'll take it. We're trying to get these movies made and do a good job. But there is a tier which is really awesome. Now it's very pricey. It's $250 a month. I mean, you can join and stay a month. You're not obligated to stay more than a month. And the name of the tier is the Head of the Family tier.
Yes.
Head of the Family tier. So
Beautiful.
that tier is the bomb. So first, it's first you get $100 every month, a gift card at our store. So money's coming back. Then you get first privy to everything that we're doing here that no one else gets to see. Then, of course, you're on set with these movies. When the movie's finished, you're the first people to see it. So as an example, even though Quadrant's coming out Friday, the Head of the Family people saw it about 5 weeks ago. But the
Yeah.
two parts of the Head of the Family tier that are the best are the following. One, you get an executive producer credit on all the Pulp Noir movies. That's a real credit, it'll be on IMDb. So if you saw the movie, you know that at the end crawl, it says executive producers, about 30 of them, because back when we shot Quadrant a few months ago, we had 30 Head of the Family members. But the coolest part of it, for people who want to be involved and understand more about the filmmaking process, is other than the obvious things and behind the scenes, and we do cast read-throughs and things that most people don't get to see. The coolest thing, and it's hard to describe unless you see it, but what I've done for years, almost ever since I've had an iPhone, is I'll set up a scene as a director, talk to the actors, set the camera up, and then eventually, when it's time to yell action, sit on my director's chair, and I'll have the monitor usually on my left so I can see what the camera's seeing. And on the right are the actors, the scene, people or stabbings or boobies flying or blood or whatever's going on. And what I do is I shoot that with my iPhone so that I see the monitor and the actors. I did this as a point of reference. There wasn't any gimmick. I thought, let me see. And that way I can quickly, if there's a question, review. I go, okay, the shot looks pretty good. Oh, there's a problem there. The boobie flew out the wrong way or someone, whatever. And then I can
Yeah.
do it again. But I realized when we set up this Patreon program that, and what I'm doing now, I started in Quadrant and people really dig it, is I can do that, shoot that moment, and push one button in real time. Every Head of the Family member gets it on their phone in real time. So I'm going to be in the catacombs in a few months in Italy shooting the third Pulp Noir
Oh,
movie.
cool.
I was at a crazy church in Cleveland shooting Death Streamer, and there was blood and vampires, and I kept, everything, any cool shot, I was able to shoot it out to the fans, and they could say, "Oh my God, that was great," and send me more boobies or whatever. We could talk back and forth. So that Head of the Family tier, again, it's pricey, but it's really cool, and you get a, executive producer credit. But check out Quadrant. It's coming out Friday on all these platforms. And yeah, and I'm glad you saw it. I didn't know you had seen the movie.
Oh yeah, I thought it was really great, and I thought it was kind of a return to form. It reminded me a little bit of the late '90s, early 2000s full
Yeah,
motion.
that's the vibe. Other than the virtual thing, and in the case of Death Streamer, you
Yeah.
got to check out the trailer for Death Streamer. You can just go to our channel on YouTube. It's really cool. Did I tell you what it's about?
No, go ahead.
In the last minute. So,
Yeah.
yeah, any excuse for a good vampire story, I'm in. Okay, and whether it's subspecies or the movies I've made over the years, but this movie, and again, it touches into something that's very current without it being silly. This movie is about this decadent vampire lives in this opulent house, and he takes his obviously hot chick victims down into the kill room. And he not only kills them, but he live streams their deaths. And
Oh
there's a
yeah.
reason why he does that. And what's cool about it is the technology is here today. So he's got these weird glasses on. You think, oh, they invented this. I didn't invent anything. We made the glasses look cool. But this is actually a joint venture between Meta and Ray-Ban. You can buy these glasses right now. They look like sunglasses. You can live stream in 4K, looks freaking amazing, or you can record up to a minute. So of course, when
Wow.
these glasses came out 6 months ago, I got them immediately, and I'm walking around looking at myself in a mirror. It's really weird. I figured you got to work this
Whoa.
into a story, and that's why I came up with Death Streamer.
Yeah, amazing. Okay, well, thank you so much, Charlie Van, for coming to talk to me. Go watch Quadrant. It comes out on Friday,
Yeah,
and I'll be posting this. So thank you so
beautiful.
much for your time.
Yeah, great. Thanks for following all this, and we should talk again in around early October for Death Streamer. That's when it comes out. It's really cool.
Absolutely. I would love to, Charlie. Thank you so
All right,
much.
take care. See you later.